Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a first look at a brand new Mega Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Mega Gallade. Mega Gallade has released as a part of a raid day, and you'll be able to get the energy to Mega Evolve it by doing said raids. Now, we already know the base form of Gallade has an amazing moveset, Psycho Cut, Leaf Blade, and Close Combat. And with the Mega Gallade now gets over 5,000 CP, meaning this thing now has some serious stats to go with that terrific moveset. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at some practice Mega Master League battles with Mega Gallade. Hopping into the first match, leading Gallade into Landorus. I'm going to throw on the CMP tie. Opponent anticipates it and reads me like a book with a beautiful Leaf Blade catch onto Dialga Origin. But bad news for Dialga, Gallade is lightning fast. I get to 2 close combats before they get to a single charge attack. Close combat number 1 is shielded, but there's more where that came from. Mega Gallade, so deadly with its pacing, opponent is going to let that through. They get KO'd. In comes Mega Latios, and this is actually a problem. I pivot into the Zacian because at this point my Zacian is completely useless. My Zacian's moves are resisted by both the Landorus and the Latios, so unfortunately not having Play Rough actually cost me quite a bit here. I will fire off the Wild Charge. That is not going to do a ton of damage, and I'm going to look to overfarm and fire off another move. Again, this Wild Charge won't do a ton, but the damage does add up a little bit over time, and my opponent has a miscount there. I'm able to make it to a third Wild Charge. That KOs. Back in comes Mega Latios, and I send in Rhyperior. Latios has farmed up so much energy, a Luster Purge would be devastating. I call it, and thank goodness it's only the Dragon Claw, but even a Dragon Claw does massive damage. This is the Mega Master League. Even regular Master League Pokemon cannot do nearly as well as they normally would against these overpowered Megas. And by the way, Mega Master League is returning as an official Go Battle League meta later this year. I believe it's in February. Dragon Claw will pick up the KO. In comes Mega Gallade, needing to get to the close combat, and gets there with a fraction of health remaining. Mega Gallade knocks out Mega Latios, and that is a good game. Hopping to the first match, leading Mega Gallade into Primal Kyogre. Kyogre farms up a ton of energy. Out comes Solgaleo. This team is ABA weak to Solgaleo, so I'm pretty happy to see it here on the Rhyperior. They farm up to the Solar Beam. I'm not going to let that happen, but they Psychic Fangs. So my opponent actually did not have the move, so fair play to them. I'm going to go for the Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker is going to be shielded. My opponent, they can now go for an Iron Head. Iron Head will not knock out, but they had Solar Beam the whole time. They just baited the first time. Oh, that is unfortunate. And now this is honestly a bit of a tough situation. I'm going to send in Zacian. They will be able to apply a Psychic Fangs debuff. My goal is to now throw 6 quick attacks and the move. I'm not going to be able to farm down, but what I can do is win the CMP tie, and this way I'm 1 away from a Wild Charge against that Primal Kyogre. And I know that Kyogre is going to have a ton of energy. In comes their final Pokemon, which is Duskmane Necrozma. Wild Charge is going to connect the switch to Gallade. In comes Primal Kyogre, and Primal Kyogre is about to feel the speed of Mega Gallade, as Gallade has Leaf Blade after Leaf Blade after Leaf Blade. First one lands, they shield the second, and I get a third Leaf Blade. Let's go Gallade. Gallade knocks out Primal Kyogre. In comes Necrozma, but it's on Psycho Cut. That is actually a moveset that more people have been running. In this instance, they would definitely prefer Shadow Claw, as Shadow Claw would hit for super effective damage, but since they have Psycho Cut, Gallade just completely sweeps that endgame and is able to take the win. We move to the next match, leading the Mega Gallade into Zacian. Zacian farms up to a potential Play Rough, and it looks like Leaf Blade can actually 2-shot Zacian. This thing's damage output is absolutely wicked. They go for the Play Rough. They are now going to save switch into Palkia. I farm up just shy of the back-to-back close combats. Close combat number 1 is going to be shielded. The switch to Zacian as they fire off the Aqua Tail. This is perfect. I save energy on Gallade for later, and their energy is not going to go very far against the Zacian. I just need to wait for them to throw, of course, because I'm not running Play Rough. They will go for Aqua Tail number 2. I'm now into the red health, but this is honestly where I want to take energy from Palkia on this team. Wild Charge is going to land. I'm going to go for the second Wild Charge right away just to try and neutralize this Palkia and get rid of it as soon as I possibly can. They are going to let that through. I'm going to pivot into Rhyperior. In the back is Mega Latios. Latios has a very similar stat product to Mega Latios, but the unfortunate thing for Latios is Latios does not have a bait move. it is typically baiting with Outrage, if I'm not mistaken. Outrage Mist Ball. So I am going to commit the shield. There's the Mist Ball. Do we see the drop? No, we do not. Opponent is going to switch out, sending in the Zacian, and I'm able to get to the back-to-back Surfs. Honestly, if I had the TMs to use, I would probably run Breaking Swipe plus Rock Wrecker for this particular team. Here, I send in Gallade, try for the Psycho Cut down, but Mega Latios is never going to let that happen. Outrage KOs, but one quick attack from Zacian means I'm able to take the win. We see a familiar foe in the next match, Mega Gallade versus Palkia. The Palkias have all been shielding close combats, but I'm still just going straight for it. This does way too much damage if they let it through. They will shield, and there's a pivot out into Zacian. My opponent responds with a Genesect, an incredibly cool pick. Honestly, when I saw the typing, I thought it was going to be Mega Scizor, but the fact that it's not is great for me, because Mega Scizor would be absolutely shredding me with super effective bullet punches. I'm able to get to the back-to-back wild charges. I'm even going to overfarm by 1, just so that way I'm only 4 quick attacks off the next move, depending on what my opponent decides to send in. And they do have it. In comes Mega Scizor, and this is actually a big problem for this team. This team really does not want to see Mega Scizor. Scizor, of course, does have access to Trailblaze, which would one-shot Rhyperior. I am going to respect it, and I get baited with a Night Slash. That is so unfortunate. I do make the Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker going to inflict some serious damage. Scizor not the tankiest. They will commit the shield. There's the switch to Gallade, but immediate switch back into the Palkia. Palkia goes for the Aqua Tail. I will commit the shield. I'm trying to overfarm as much as I can before going for the close combat, but I miscount by 1, and they get the Aqua Tail. That's going to put me at 1 HP. A close combat would basically KO here. I'm going to try for an undercharge, so that way I can get farm on Rhyperior, and the undercharge does give me 2 Mud Slaps. But Mega Scizor should be able to knock me out with either an Iron Head or a Trailblaze, so this game will be over. The opponent goes for a Night Slash. Maybe I have a chance. No, I don't. And it turns out they actually have return on this Mega Scizor, but when Scizor is Mega'd, it actually loses the Purified Aura. Picking up a great lead for Mega Gallade in the next match, leading into Dialga Origin. And look at this. This is the first time ever we've seen Gallade not get completely run over by Fast Food Pressure. This thing actually has stats. I'm able to successfully grab a shield, bank some energy, and send in the Zacian. I decide to shield at the last second. Honestly, once they bring in Landorus, I regret that shielding decision because I don't have Play Rough, but they're still going to need to throw multiple moves from the Landorus, so it'll all be okay in the end. I get to the back-to-back wild charges. These wild charges are at -1 and resisted, so they are really not going to do a whole lot, but my goal is just slowly chip away, try to make this as easy of a matchup for Gallade to clean up as I possibly can. Landorus will be able to pick up the knockout with the Sandsear Storm, and I get to send back in Gallade. Gallade farming up quite a bit. Unfortunately, I do get the 1-turn Bring and Lag there, which means I don't sneak through a Psycho Cut as they fire off their move. I'm going to try for the farm down anyway, and I get the farm down. I have so much energy on Gallade. Let's see what they're going to do. They're going to bring in Dialga. They still haven't revealed their Mega or Primal Pokemon. Close combat is shielded. I switch into Rhyperior in the back. It's going to be a Primal Groudon. And boy, am I happy to have Surf in this moment, as this is double super effective damage, absolutely nuking the Groudon. Groudon is unable to make the Precipice Blades. Back in comes Dialga, and Dialga will immediately be hit with the Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker into Dialga is going to inflict massive damage. Dialga is forced to throw, and Dialga, throughout the course of this match, used both of its shields to protect itself from close combats. But there's a third close combat loaded and ready to go. Down goes Dialga, and that's a good game. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match, leading the Mega Gallade into Yveltal. Yveltal, they get to the first move in 8 Sucker Punches, so after 7 Psycho Cuts, I throw the close combat. That nearly does 3/4 of their HP. That is unbelievable neutral damage. In comes Zacian, and my opponent sends out Mewtwo. Mewtwo, very strong neutrally against Zacian. I'm going to farm up very close to the back-to-back moves, but I'm not quite there. Wild Charge is going to connect, Mewtwo firing off its energy, and I decide that I will actually be committing the shield. I can throw 4 quick attacks here and go for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge, I'm hoping they actually decide to shield it. So then I can go for farm with my Rhyperior, but they don't, and instead they're going for farm with Mega Garchomp. We've seen from featuring it before, Mega Garchomp is a very scary Pokemon. Mega Garchomp farming up, they're going to fire off a Sand Tomb. I'm going to commit the shield as I'm very close to the back-to-back close combats, and I get there. Let's see this damage. We know Mega Garchomp has a massive stat product. I'm able to get both of these close combats off. The first one is shielded. They're out of shields now. That does huge damage, and this will come down to a catch. I believe they are 4 off a potential Earth Power. So I send in Rhyperior, I throw 4, I switch, I don't get the catch, and that just dooms me to a loss because Rhyperior will always lose the charge attack priority tie to Mega Garchomp. I can try and double up, but it's not going to matter. My opponent has me beat here. Well played to them. I tried to go for the Hail Mary catch, but unfortunately, that was not to be. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match, Gallade versus Xerneas. Xerneas, of course, can threaten super effective damage with Moonblast. We saw Leaf Blade is able to two-shot Zacian more or less. Let's see about the damage on Xerneas. Xerneas slightly bulkier, but still 2 Leaf Blades will put this deep into the red HP. So Leaf Blade number 2 is going to land. I throw 1 Psycho Cut, switch, and get the catch and sneak onto Zacian. That is absolutely terrific. Moonblast is going to land. They're actually going to switch out, send in Landorus, and the Zacian safe switch definitely doing its job here, successfully baiting out the Landorus as Rhyperior wants nothing to do with Lando whatsoever. Perfect overfarm by my opponent, playing to the CMP tie, able to deny the Zacian energy, but now I'm going to get to send back in Gallade. Gallade going for the Leaf Blade. Opponent could have gone for a Sandsear, but instead they're looking to overfarm, bank quite a bit of energy. The Leaf Blade is going to be shielded. They're going to fire off a Sandsear Storm, and I know that Mega Gallade can tank this. So I'm going to let it go for the Leaf Blade, and they make a devastating catch back onto Xerneas. That is very unfortunate, as Xerneas, not where I wanted that energy to land. Are we going to see Landorus re-hit the field here? No, it's going to be a Mega Tyranitar. I send in Rhyperior, and even though I'm hitting for super effective damage, and they're hitting for resisted, we're doing about the same fast move damage. Mega Tyranitar is such a beast. Oh my goodness. I'm firing off the Surf, but this thing is terrifying. I go for the Surf, it still will not get KO'd. Honestly, when Mega Masters is here, I'm so excited to get to use my Mega Tyranitar. In comes Landorus. Landorus had the energy locked and loaded. Here I'm actually going to throw on alignment. I undertap the Surf. I need them to have as little residual energy as possible. And now that I got the shield, I can switch to Gallade, make it to the Leaf Blade, and this game is over. Once I've neutralized Landorus, the Tyranitar is just too low. Gallade tanks the smackdown on 1 HP and takes the win. We see a very familiar matchup, Mega Gallade versus Palkia. So far, every single Palkia has been shielding, which has definitely been unfortunate. So I'm going to go for the bait. If everyone's going to be shielding, I'm going to bait with the Leaf Blade, and they call it. Oh my goodness, the one time I bait. That is tragic. Well played to this opponent. They apparently read me like a book, and out comes Mega Venusaur. Oh no. Things going from bad to worse very, very quickly as Mega Venusaur has a commanding matchup against Zacian. It's a complete wall to Zacian's energy. I get to back-to-back wild charges. I already threw the first. I'm throwing the second. They tank both of them. They get to farm 200, and they will exit with energy. And this team as a whole, once a Mega Venusaur gets up energy, it's very scary to deal with. I go for the close combat as a Leaf Blade would not KO. Opponent does respect the close combat, and now this is where things will get a little bit tricky. I am going to commit the shield. Opponent switches back into the Palkia. Palkia will be hit with the Leaf Blade. I'm hoping they decide to let it go, but they don't. And them shielding that means that I shouldn't have thrown the Leaf Blade. I should have immediately switched into Rhyperior because they got residual energy from me staying in to go for the Leaf Blade, and that lets them get to an Aqua Tail, and that's just my fault. Had I brought in Rhyperior instantly, I could have one shield farm down, and then maybe been in a better spot. But unfortunately now, I am probably not going to get to see their third. Oh well, I will get to see their third, because I do actually get to KO them with a Leaf Blade. What did they have in the back? It was their own Rhyperior, and if my Gallade had a little bit more energy or a little bit more health, I could have taken that win. We move into the next match, Nightmare lead, leading into a Mega Salamence, and that is not what you want to see as Gallade. I safe switch into Zacian, and I'm met with the ever-present Landorus. These very powerful ground types like Landorus and Rhyperior should still make their presence felt in the Mega Master League, just because even though obviously the stat products are a lot higher on the Megas, these Pokemon do still hold up very well. They're going to do a nice job over farming with the Landorus, and I'm just going to let this go. Zacian has done its job, and now I get to bring in Gallade. And for Gallade, I will look to try and get this as low as possible, then try and snipe with a Mud Slap to get an energy head start. So I'm going to get them to 1 HP, switch into Rhyperior, and I will get the small head start that I'm looking for. Back in comes Mega Salamence. Now here is where potentially having Breaking Swipe could be nice, because then I have a bait move. But I don't have a bait move, so I go for the Rock Wrecker. They call the Breaking Swipe, and now maybe there's a chance. These Mud Slaps are double resisted, and Mega Salamence has a massive stat product, so this is going to be a very tough game to win. I go for the Surf, just trying to peel away shields from my opponent. So the Surf is going to be shielded. I switch into Gallade, and in the back, they have Duskmane. I have the back-to-back close combats loaded here. Close combat is going to connect, and now this is an interesting situation. If they shield, it potentially sets up me farming with Rhyperior. They let it go. They're going to try and farm everything down with the Salamence. It's going to be close. Salamence versus Rhyperior, and Rhyperior Mud Slaps down Mega Salamence to clutch an improbable win. All in all, I had an absolute blast getting to test out Mega Gallade. I do think that it does have some pretty nice matchups across the board in the Mega Master League. It's definitely not quite at the tier of stuff like the Primals and Mega Rayquaza, but I do think it holds its own as a solid B-tier Mega option for the Mega Master League. I do think if you team build with it carefully, you could probably have success, because its pacing is absolutely unreal. You just have to make sure that you're very strong in the back to Pokemon like Mega Rayquaza and Mega Salamence, as those Pokemon do provide a pretty significant headache for Mega Gallade. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying content like this, consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't. Another way you can support the channel is by becoming a channel member like these wonderful people here. A special thank you to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.